Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian, joining me once again my co-host and tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, dude? I'm excited because this is a new format that we're trying out with the help of our producer, Licenciado Claudio.
Shout out to Claudio.
Yeah, shout out to Claudio. But yeah, this is going to be exciting. This is the first time that we do it live after, 2 years now?
Yeah.
It's been 2 years?
Well, not live, but in person, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be fun, dude. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think we're excited for this change. Hopefully we do it more often.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to be in person, right?
Well, now that you're in San Antonio and I'm in Austin, it should be, now 1 hour drive isn't as bad as 8 hours, right? Going to El Paso.
But let's get into it, guys. We're here, end of the year review, but not just that. I think, Adrian, we have a lot to cover this episode. Mm-hmm. We're going to take advantage that Claudio's helping us out, and we're going to put the most we can into this episode. Mm-hmm. But as you guys know, who have been following us for a while now, we do an end of the year review every year, right? I mean, discussing the best awards, best player, best goal of the year for la selección mexicana and for the USMNT. And so, Adrian, let's start it with la selección.
Here we go.
Starting it off with the best player of the year. I think the award that everybody wants to see.
What do you got? I had a hard time thinking about this, and because even before we started, filming the episode, you asked me, hey, if it wasn't for this specific player, who else would it be? And it was a very difficult choice. But nonetheless, I think we all know that the obvious answer is RJ9, Raúl Jiménez, right?
Yep.
We all thought back in 2022 that he was completely done, that he was his last time being a professional soccer player. But then in 2023, he proved us that maybe he still has something in himself. But this year specifically, dude, he's been on fire for both club and Mexico, right? Yeah. I mean, if we do a quick deep dive quick check on his stats, right, for Premier League, right, 2024 so far. This second half of 2024, the beginning of 2024-2025 season, right, he has played 16 matches, 5 goals, 2 assists with Fulham, right. With Mexico on only CONCACAF Nations League, he has 2 starts and 1 goal. That one great goal against the USMNT in October in Guadalajara. So I think. I mean, tell me if you feel otherwise, but yo no veo a ningún otro jugador de México en el mismo nivel que Raúl Jiménez en este momento.
No, we discussed it before, man. I mean, there was a huge gap, right?
Yep.
With Raúl Jiménez, and then we struggled. I mean, we said Johan Vázquez maybe. El Machín, if he hadn't gotten injured.
Exactly. And, everyone has this handicap of the Copa America, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we saw I think Luis Romo was the only one that really stood out in the Copa America, right? But no, I agree with you, man. I mean, if we compare his stats, right, to 2023-24, he had 24 matches played, 7 goals. So he already has 5 goals this season. We're only halfway through.
Exactly.
So, no, I agree with you 100%. Raúl Jiménez deserving and really taking advantage of the fact that Santi got injured the last couple months with la selección.
Yes.
Do you think he is undisputed number 9 for Mexico?
Yeah, no doubt. Like, hands down, he has to be the number 1 choice for vascoaguirre. And even if vascoaguirre leaves, halfway or before the freaking 2026 World Cup, right now, today, as of today, he has to be the number 1 choice for that number 9 in the Mexico striking formation. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the funny thing here because, Adrian, we have the best forward award here.
Yeah.
And you didn't give it to Raúl Jiménez. You gave it to Santiago Jiménez.
No, I gave it to Santiago Jiménez because for this specific award, right, I value goals over anything else.
Yeah.
And if we only use that metric, Santiago Jiménez, El Bebote Jiménez, is by leaps and bounds the best Mexican forward of the moment, right? Even with his injury early this season, right? He has managed to score 10 goals in 13 matches overall. So he has to be the most prolific goal scorer for Mexico. Even looking at ligamx, right? If you look at, for example, I know that Ángel Sepúlveda is one of those Mexican strikers that this year specifically, and this clausura specifically, right? Apertura specifically, he did a really great job being a Mexican striker in ligamx. But even then, I think Santiago Jiménez, if you take in consideration the second half, or the first half of this year, second half of last season, and so far this season, he's just the undisputed best forward for Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for him, though, he just can't get it going for la selección.
I know, right?
Right, he hasn't scored since the Copa Oro last year?
Against Panama, right?
Against Panama in the final.
Exactly.
That historic final when everybody thought that was his awakening.
Mm-hmm. Y ha tenido oportunidades. Like, it isn't like he hasn't had a chance to actually play for Mexico and make a difference, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's had minutes for Vasco. He's had minutes for, in Holland, over there. He takes advantage over there. But for la selección, just a different story, man.
Oh, well, yeah.
Midfield, a lot. Well, I say a lot. We like we mentioned, we saw one in particular in the Copa America.
Yes.
we saw another one, Edson, get injured in Copa America, the big tournament of the year, right?
Yep.
We saw Luis Chavez, who had an up and down year, I want to say.
Yes.
It wasn't his greatest.
No.
Who do you have for midfielder of the year?
I think this is going to be a controversial call, dude, and I really hope that this makes some noise in within our PPG fam and also with other people who we're going to clip this and we're going to make it so that it makes noise, right? But I think the best midfielder for Mexico this year, both club and national team, has to be no one else but Luis Romo. Luis Romo, díganme lo que quieran, háganlo como quieran, pero Luis Romo en el 2024, he has to be the best midfielder that Mexico has had, period, right? I know that Machín plays in Premier League, the best league in all the world. I know Aurelien Pineda plays in Greece, Luis Chavez plays in Russia, right? But it's very, very difficult to see Luis Chavez, so it isn't like I'm a Luis Chavez expert. But Liga MX, that I feel very comfortable with, knowing my Liga MX stuff, Luis Romo was a crucial player for Cruz Azul, making that historic run for the most points in Liga MX, reaching to the final in Clausura 2024, making to the semifinals in this Apertura 2024. He might not have a lot of goals on his tally or assists, but he is a plurifunctional player, and again, he has been highly competitive with Cruz Azul. Even before joining Cruz Azul, he was a very strong player in Monterrey. And I know a bunch of my buddies in Monterrey don't like him, but man, he is the 2024 midfielder for Mexico.
Yeah, man, the engine for Cruz Azul. Ultimately, we saw them fall short, like we always do with Cruz Azul, right? But it wasn't his fault.
Yep.
That Copa America he had, fantastic showing. No one expected that.
No.
Really, when Machín went down, we thought it was the end of the Copa America for Mexico, which it was, right?
In a way.
They didn't get out, but it wasn't due to the lack of midfield presence because we saw him, that going back, he covered the whole field.
He took control.
Yeah. I agree with you. Out of the box pick at the end for midfielder of the year, I think, but deserved.
100%.
Defenders, man. We talk about Cesar Montes, Arteaga. We could talk about a lot, right? We could talk about the lack of left back, but I think one guy who's been recently promoted to captain of his club, who's been playing really well in Italy, Johan Vasquez.
Yeah.
Deserving?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Like, I know that we rarely are in disagreement on our episodes, right? And that may be something that our fans can pick up on, but I don't have anything against this decision, dude. Johan Vasquez has consistently become a better player every single season that he's been in Serie A, and I think it shows. Yeah. It shows both in the national team and with his club that he is reaching levels that I don't think anyone expected of him, right? Yeah. It was rough seeing him in Cremonese getting relegated, but we say this every single time and every chance we have. Young Mexican players have to go to small teams that are playing relegation because that puts them in a position that nowhere in the world they will gain that experience, right? There's no relegation in Liga MX. If they go to MLS, there's no relegation in MLS. And we know that they're not ready for the top 5 teams in La Liga or Premier League, right? Yep. Maybe they will get there in the next few years, but Johan Vasquez is the best example we have right now of a Mexican young lad going out there and making it happen. So yeah, if we want to go through stats, right? I mean, so far, Genoa has 4 clean sheets. So he gets those 4 clean sheets, but he gets at least 1 and almost a half interceptions per game, 1 tackle per game. He recovers almost 3 balls per game, which is a lot for being a center back. And he also has 3.5 clearances per game. So to me, that says that he's a very strong center back, and he's just getting better.
And he's clean. He doesn't commit any fouls inside the box.
Exactly.
Right? We don't see him giving away penalties. Adrian, you brought up a good point, how we always mention, we want Mexicanos to go to teams in Europe that, will play them. And that will, if that means being in the bottom of the table or middle of the table, go there. If that means fighting relegation, go there. Johan Vasquez has, I think, outgrown his current club.
Yeah.
He's the youngest guy. We know Raul Jimenez, obviously fantastic season, but he's old, right? Johan Vasquez still has that chance to go to a better club, go up. Do you think it's time for him after the season?
I think.
And have you heard about any rumors for him? Sorry.
So, I mean, what I've heard, what I've seen on different other content creators about La Selección Mexicana on YouTube and the regulars on ESPN and whatnot, it looks like he's harnessing interest from like the big clubs in Italy, right? And so I think this summer could be the time for him to move on to the next stage of his career. It would be nice to see him, at a Juventus or Inter de Milan, even AC Milan, right? Or even like Lazio or Napoli, who are playing, decently right now. Hopefully we get to see him there. But I think anything above Genoa, even if it's, Atalanta or going to I don't know, you name it, something in La Liga, like top 7 teams in La Liga, right? anything like that will be a step up from Genoa for sure.
Do you think, I know this is hard to kind of picture, right? But I mean, without seeing him there, but how do you think the Premier League will fit Johan Vasquez?
Do you think he's ready?
I don't know if he's ready. Well, I'd say he's ready skill-wise. It's just such a physical league.
It is.
You know, and he doesn't have the stature for it.
That is true. I mean, he's not definitely short, but he's not significantly tall, right? Like if you compare against Virgil van Dijk or any other, center back in the Premier League, they're all super bulky,
right?
And they're fast too. And he's fast, but I get what you're saying. He's super lean. I don't know if he's ready for the Premier League. Maybe if he goes to a bigger team in Italy, and he gets that exposure to European football, right? Because that's the one thing that he's missing. He's not
Thursday night, Wednesday night games.
Exactly. And playing against a Premier side, playing against a La Liga side, I think that's when he's going to get to the next stage of maybe moving to a better league.
Makes sense. And let us know in the comments below. Johan Vasquez, would you like to see him go to a bigger team in a bigger league? Let us know. Where would you like him to go? Where do you see him fitting in? Definitely like interacting with you guys in the comments, so let us know your thoughts on him. Adrian, before we take off from La Selección Mexicana and talk USMNT, best goal of the year?
This was an easy one, dude. I mean, it wasn't like Mexico had, extremely enjoyable matches, right? Or anything, or they scored a plethora of goals, right? But I think that the one that comes to my mind that it was an easy answer for me was Raúl Jiménez against the USMNT and that free kick goal. Not only because of the stage where Andrés Guardado was retiring, they were playing Guadalajara,
That's right?
It's been a long time coming since, I guess, we're asking La Selección Mexicana to play more often in Mexico, right? But the fact that he had the guts to say, hey, this is my free kick, right? I wasn't expecting him to take the free kick.
Yeah, he pulled it. He was like,
it's mine. Yeah. And the distance to it, and then against the USMNT, it was the perfect scenario for this badass goal. I don't know, it fue un golazo. No hay nada más que decir.
2-0.
2-0, así es. Yeah. So, I mean, I wish we could see it right now because it was a badass goal, but maybe we
have it ingrained, man.
Exactly. Yeah. It's here in the vault.
No, I mean, thinking back to the year that was, that's the one that stands out, right? I don't know if it's because it's the most recent one, like recent-ish, right? Mm-hmm. Or just because of the gravity of what you said, like it's against your bitter rival, playing at home, and him kind of cementing himself as like, this is mine, and this is my year. I'm the best forward Mexico has right now. That was kind of just wrapped up for Raúl Jiménez.
Exactly.
Good way to kind of put the bow on his stellar year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, man, moving on from La Selección Mexicana, end of the year awards for USMNT. I think USMNT, just like Mexico, had a very rough year, I think, overall, if we look at it. But there were some positives here. And I think the best player of the year, surprisingly, was the one that really wasn't born in America, right? But he, just as American as, apple pie, I guess. But Jedi Robinson, man, the Fulham's left back, who's been playing really well. Key contributor to Fulham's success so far, to the USMNT. He's always the number one, I think, with him and Pulisic on the sheet for Pochettino, and before that for Triple G. But 16 appearances so far for Fulham, 6 assists, which is really good for defender, right? Left back, 80% completion pass rate, around 45 passes per game, more or less. So he's really active. He really goes up the plank for Fulham. It's part of the attack. We saw him get an assist this past weekend. And when he was injured recently for the USMNT, the USMNT really lacked and felt his presence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it makes no. I mean, this is a no-brainer choice, man. Jedi Robinson has been more than consistent with the USMNT. He's shown that he's ready for the next step in his career, maybe moving to a bigger club in the Premier League. But if there's a top three, I know that with Triple G there was this like leadership council, right? And you had Ty Adams and you had Pulisic and whatnot.
Right.
I think after the Triple G period, Jedi Robinson has settled himself as one of the leaders of this team, and I think it shows. It shows in his influence on the game. It shows in the stature of the level of the game that the team can reach with them, right? And as you mentioned, we always say that the USMNT has this super depth in, both on the starting 11 as well as the bench. But even if you have a maybe drop-in replacement for someone like Robinson,
right?
There's a huge drop in in just performance and quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Question for you again. Premier League, Robinson. Do you think he's the best left back in the league?
It's a tough choice between him and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, I think it's a tough choice. Very similar players. Yeah. Super, both very physical, super fast, good with their feet.
Aggressive going forward.
Yeah. Good long shot. I think Alexander-Arnold is slightly better, a long shot. Yeah. But man, he has to be at least top 3 of Premier League.
Just funny because you compare him to Alexander-Arnold because Liverpool's interested in. There's rumors that they're interested in Robinson.
Because maybe Alexander-Arnold is going to Madrid.
Oh yeah,
we'll see. I mean, it's an opportunity, man. You gotta seize it.
Well, Adrian, let's talk best forward now for the USMNT. I think there were some notable mentions here, specifically Ricardo Pepi, Del Paso-born player, El Tren, who we've seen really pick it up here recently for PSV and for the USMNT. Ultimately, I think, though, the award goes to Pulisic, who's really had a, just like Pepi, what's it called, up-and-coming year, right? Not up-and-coming, but a revival year.
Yeah.
Doing really well for Milan. Doing really well for the USMNT, like he always does. And, 12 games for the USMNT this year, 5 goals, 3 assists, and really becoming an integral part of Milan. One of the senior players now there, even though he's his second or third season, right? And showing that what he can do if he's injury-free, which he picked up a knock recently, but he's been, for the most part, injury-free, right?
I mean, compared to his time at Chelsea, where he was pretty much out every single time
made of glass.
Exactly, at the nursery, right? But man, I like this because we could have gone with the easy choice as him being the best player of the year, right? But we don't really always take that route here at PPG,
right?
And so I think that this is perfect. He is definitely the best forward in general when you look at everyone, even though he's not like a striker per se, right? But he's technically a forward. Even compared to Hajiwright, George Sargent, and any other forward attacking player for the USMNT, there's no doubt that this year has been absolutely great for Christian Pulisic, and it's just nice to see that he finally found a place where he can be the influential player that we always wanted him to be, right?
Let's just hope that he doesn't have problems with Pochettino. We know he's had problems with coaches in the past.
Yeah.
He's kind of, I don't want to say coddled, but he's the USMNT's face, right?
Yeah, he
is. They try to keep him happy, at least the higher ups. And Pochettino, I think, is one that's not going to give into that crap, right? He's going to be like, nobody's above the team.
Exactly.
So we'll see how that
And I think that's what the USMNT needs right now.
Yeah. But we'll talk more about Pochettino later on this episode. So, Adrian, some quick stats real quick. 2024-2025 season, which we know is halfway through the season, for all competitions for Milan. 20 appearances, 8 goals, 6 assists. He's en route to get a 20-plus, maybe 25-plus contributions.
I mean, that's going to be outstanding, dude. I think that's going to be even better than his best year at Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. Well, best midfielder, Adrian, I think this is kind of similar to Pulisic, kind of similar to Ricardo Pepi, who we talked about, kind of a revival year for him. It feels like this guy every year has to kind of prove himself at his club.
I was going to say that,
Yeah, but Weston McKennie, who's earned his place once again for Juventus. He was kind of being forced out, in the summer. Kind of went back in there, as a starter now, kind of locked-in starter, and has 2 goals in the Champions League, you believe it, this season.
I mean, that's great, dude. I mean, what can you say?
We saw that pretty good golazo for him.
Yeah,
for
City,
midfield, right? Kind of like that scissor, But box-to-box player for the USMNT. When he's playing, he's great. Or when he's playing great, the USMNT is really hard to beat. But when he's playing at not his great level or he's out, we really see the difference for the USMNT, right? So him there in the midfield, like we talked about Luis Romo, kind of similar player, similar style, and I think deserving of the award this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it's slightly unfair because he was healthy pretty much. He's almost always healthy, right? But I don't know if it would have been different if Ty Adams would have been injury-free.
More competition there.
More competition, though. I know that Johnny Cardoso is still having a decent year at Real Betis.
Just scored.
Yeah. So, but I think it's slightly unfair just because how resilient this guy is, dude. He is just a fighter, man. And the fact that he once again earned his spot at a team like Juventus just goes to show that this guy is he's in it for everything, man. He wants the biscuit. He's risking it.
Yeah, man. And defender, I'm not going to spend too much time on here because I have here Jedi Robinson again. As boring as that may seem, nominating the player of the year we gave. And, I went through the list. Who was I going to give this award to? Tim Ream, who's been, aging. Chris Richards was out a lot. Didn't play much. Scally, who was bad. Dest, who was out.
McKenzie.
Yeah, I mean, it really was no competition here. I think. Jedi Robinson.
I think it's a no-brainer here as well. I mean, even if you want to, stretch it and say Joe Scally, but man, Joe Scally hasn't been great for the USMNT.
Yeah, up and down year for him.
Yeah.
Adrian Tocayo. Best goal. I know it's going to hurt you, but it was that golazo against Mexico from Tyler Adams.
That was a bomb there, yeah.
The final. It's funny because we had the golazo from Raul Jimenez against USA, and now Tyler Adams against Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Outside the box, just got it how he got it, and just hit that upper post. And man, what a golazo from the Nations League final. It was a final as well.
I mean, it was just a rocket, dude. It was just a rocket, and I think that's also I mean, we all know that Guillermo Ochoa is, he's not getting younger. It's becoming more difficult for him to be a remarkable goalkeeper. But I think that golazo was like the beginning of the end of Guillermo Ochoa. Not only I think he was still in America, or maybe he must have been in America still. But he left America after that, and then he hasn't regained his starting position with Mexico after that. So I think it's just, I'm gonna say thank you, Tyler Adams, for getting rid of Guillermo Ochoa, because it's been a pest for a while.
I don't know if Claudio's gonna like that, man. Americanista, you're making fun of his boy.
No, he's old.
Nah, but man. Golazo. Let's talk about Liga MX, La Bendita Liga MX, bro. For those guys who have been following us, we have the Apertura recap that just ended, so check that video out. And if you guys enjoy those videos, we're going to be doing our recap for La Clausura, which starts here in a couple weeks. And we enjoy making those videos. If you like Spanish content, check it out. But Adrian, some summaries here, man. Let's start with the big surprises of the Apertura. Who would have seen Atlético San Luis make it that far?
I don't think anyone was expecting Atlético San Luis to be that feisty, dude.
Right.
I mean, when you looked at Clausura 2024, they ended like around, I think, position 12, if I'm not mistaken, with I guess Jardin's assistant coach as the main coach, right? They were pretty much. I'm not gonna say they were a bad team then, but there's a huge difference between 6 months before and whatever they did this season, right? The fact that Dominic Torrent, who, for those who don't know, Dominic Torrent was Pep Guardiola's right hand for a while, right? And so he finally decided to venture on his own, and he is a great coach, man. I mean, he did a lot with this team.
Would have thought his life took him to San Luis. Right?
I know, right? Going from freaking Manchester to San Luis Potosí.
Oh man. But I mean, how good were they playing at home?
I mean, they were the best team at home, dude. Fueron el mejor equipo de local. Yo sé que he dicho esto en muchos de nuestros episodios y no me voy a cansar de decirlo, pero fueron el equipo con el 84% de efectividad. Better than Cruz Azul, better than America, who's the tricampeón right now. Like better than Toluca, who we both know that Toluca and Cruz Azul were pretty much the teams with the most goals scored, right? And 1 and 2 of the competition. So the fact that Dominic Torrent did this with the likes of Ricardo Chávez, Alan Sánchez, el portero, El Cata Domínguez as a center back, right? This is it's an accomplishment on its own. Yeah.
And it just goes to show, man, if you take care of business at home, win your home games, you'll get into Liga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Walking.
Right.
Yeah.
So, man, another surprise here. I think one, we know how much you love this guy, but he took his team to the play-in. Cholos who were playing really well. They really entertaining attacking football.
Yes.
The type of football that was like a Hail Mary, right? That we were playing.
Yes.
It was like, we're either going to win this and score golazos and outscore our opponent 3-0, or, we're just going to get destroyed. Los Cholos who didn't quite make it past play-in, didn't have it. This is where we've discussed it before, Adrian, the difference in, money and revenue,
Squads,
where you really see the big six versus everybody else, right?
Exactly.
We saw them lose against America, right? In the play-in.
So they lost against America the first playing match, and then they won the second one.
Right.
They made it to the quarterfinals.
That's right. That's what it is,
Yeah.
And no les alcanzó. I mean, but what can you say about Juan Carlos Osorio here with Cholos?
Mira, mi opinión va a ser muy sesgada porque yo soy un enamorado del profesor Juan Carlos Osorio. Yo soy un ferviente seguidor de él. But I mean, it was to me, Cholos this season, along with San Luis, it was a breath of fresh air, man.
Yeah.
Because we saw Cholos with El Piojo Herrera, right? It was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Juan Carlos Osorio came in, made a few changes on this team, and made it work. And to your point this is the reason why I'm in love with Juan Carlos Osorio, is because this guy doesn't care. He just goes out and fights, tries to win by outscoring the opponent, right? Yeah. And you may say that, he also, as much as he was scoring, he was also getting a lot of goals. But I think if he was giving a better defense, it would have been a different story. The other thing that I also like about this season from Cholos is that he debuted a 15-year-old player, which is not common in Mexico, right? And so this is another reason why I am, deeply in love with Juan Carlos Osorio, is because he believes in youth. And so it's nice to see Gilberto Mora, the youngest lad to ever score a goal in Liga MX. So.
Adrian, man, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, you mentioned the feistiness of Juan Carlos Osorio. How many times did he get not red carded or expelled?
I don't know, but
2 or 3, right?
I think this season at least 2 times. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I guess I can look it up real quick, but I mean,
Passionate.
yeah, he's a passionate guy, and that's why I love him. That's why I
miss him from La
appreciate-
Selección.
Exactly. Man, don't get me started. Dude.
That's another 2 hours.
I'm gonna rant. So let's move on.
Well, we can't talk about La Apertura without talking about Las Águilas, el equipo más grande de México. América, 3-time champion in a row. You see Claudio smiling over there. Defeated Monterrey 3-2 on aggregate. Won. I was going to say they won their first match at home, but it wasn't really at home. They're playing at Estadio Cuauhtémoc.
Cuauhtémoc in Puebla.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they went to El Gigante Acero and won there too. Ultimately became champions in Monterrey. Jardiné, how good has he been?
El ajedrecista. Listen, I think if you watch, if the PPG fan watch our weekly resumes or reviews of ligamx, right? We said this throughout the entire season. America, while it wasn't playing great, it wasn't necessarily playing too bad, right? They had a hospital, right? They were changing formations and squad players rotation significantly, week in, week out, and so it was difficult to see America throughout the season. But on the second half of the season, we started to see a progression, right?
After the Pumas game,
Exactly.
Jornada 13 or 12.
Something around they started to get into gear, right?
Yeah.
They started to play better. He started to get all the injured players starting to come back, right? And he found a formation that was enough for him to classify to the play-in, right? And then not only that, he also showed that he knows what's the format of Liga MX. He understands Liga MX. He gets it, because starting La Liguilla, he changed the whole thing. He played more defensively with a line of 5 in the back. He surprised everything, man. Yeah. Everyone was surprised at the way America was playing. So I know that people want to say that he's probably un director técnico de época. Maybe he still needs a couple more years to be a coach for the ages. Yeah. But he has definitely set himself as one of the best coaches in America's history with this tricampeonato, for sure.
First team since they did torneos cortos to be tricampeón.
Exactly. So.
It's funny that you mentioned, he knows Liguilla. I was thinking about that Vegeta meme, where it's like, tu tío la Liguilla es otro torneo.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing bad to say against America or Jardín in this specific sense, right? I was telling Claudio before even the final. I mean, I asked him, do you think America's going to win? He was super calm and collected. Said, sí, el América va a ganar. And, he was right. And listen, the only match that America was put against the wall was, actually, there's 2 matches in this Liguilla, right? Counting play-in. First one against Cholos de Tijuana. They were put against the wall, and they won. I think they won in penalties, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And so, again, Juan Carlos Osorio, right? And the second leg match against Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
Right? And that's only because they allowed Cruz Azul to come back on the score, right? But other than that...
And those 10 minutes against Monterrey.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it. Against Toluca, they demolished Toluca. The first game against Monterrey, I mean, they beat Monterrey fair and square. And then on the second match, they controlled the entire match.
Like, it just goes to show you, I mean, it's a team that's done it before.
Exactly.
I mean, the biggest team in Mexico. And they know how to play under those pressure situations, right?
They might not have the most expensive squad or the best players in name or in paper, but they have done an excellent job at keeping the core, building depth. And also, another thing that I want to give Jardine credit is he knows how to manage a team, right? El hecho de que Richard Sánchez haya jugado 3 partidos en el torneo y llegue a la liguilla y te mete esos golazos, it just goes to show that he knows how to tend to his stars. Yeah.
And talking about golazos, we saw a couple from this guy here. I know we're talking about now top players of Liga MX, this apertura. Sergio Canales, someone who we had between him and the next player we'll discuss as maybe the top 2 players of the league.
I agree.
Carried his team to, I'm not going to say carried, Monterrey had a lot of players that really stepped it up the season, but took his team to the final. Ultimately, no les alcanzó. Wasn't able to beat America. But I think it finally clicked for Canales this season. He got the pieces he needed to, get the support, right?
Yes, I agree. I mean, we saw him during Clausura 2024 that he was the crucial player for Monterrey. He was missing a few components. Yep. Now that Lucas Ocampos, Oliver Torres are there, especially Lucas Ocampos, he has found himself surrounded with equal talent, right? But I think Sergio Canales is the player that Monterrey fans were hoping for over the last 5 or 7 years, right?
Their Gignac.
Exactly, their Gignac. with a small caveat, right? Just keep it real, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this guy has no trophies under his name,
Right.
With Monterrey at least. But yeah, no, Sergio Canales has to be one of the best players in Liga MX. Man, he netted 10 goals this season, plus 6 assists.
16 goal contributions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much close to his tally on goals from last season, which was 11.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I know that our boy Marcelo hates Sergio Canales, but man, come on. I mean, it's easy to just like the guy. He's just a very, very extraordinary player for Liga MX.
So is he still Sergio Penales in your eyes?
Well,
Has he moved on from that money?
I mean, listen, yeah. I know. My Tigres fans are gonna say, you know what you're saying, but I mean, come on, dude, you gotta respect him.
Respect where it's due, man.
Exactly.
Someone else that earned respect here, man. What a signing he's been, but fell short in the play in the Liguilla. Really, when he needed to step it up, he didn't. Paulinho, and that's why I think we have, at least here, I don't know if you put this part of the agenda together where you have Sergio Canales above Paulinho because of you had him at a higher rank in your standards? Okay.
That's pretty much
so
it.
that was on purpose. Exactly. So you had Paulinho under, I'm guessing because of his lack of Liguilla.
Exactly. That's pretty much it, man. Paulinho was a monster throughout the entire regular season for Toluca, right? Even mimicking what André Pergignac did on his first season with Tigres. And so we all thought that he was going to be an animal de liguilla whenever, the playoffs came in, but he just wasn't. Yeah. And again, this isn't necessarily on Paulinho. It's because America played really well. Ramon Juarez tried him out. Yeah, shut him down. I mean, so that's the only reason why. I mean, if Toluca would have made a run for, the final or semifinals, maybe my opinion would have been different. Yeah. But, it's what it is.
Yeah, 13 goals, 5 assists, 19 appearances. Averaging 0.68 goals per match, so crazy stat there.
That's crazy.
But I think you have this next guy, standout player, obviously, fantastic for Cruz Azul, Carlos Rotondi.
Yeah.
But similarly to what you just said about Paulinho, you have him probably below Sergio Canales just because of Cruz Azul's lack of advancing in the Liga, crashing in the Liga, and I guess him being pocketed in the Liga, right? He really wasn't outstanding in the Liga. Wouldn't matter.
He also committed a penalty that eliminated Cruz Azul from the final. So, I'm sorry, Rotondi, but man, you seem to be the bad luck charm for Cruz Azul.
Oh man, but narratives of the season, Adrian. Some talking points here from that we could take from this Liga MX Apertura. I want to talk about the attendance. It's something we talked about in our one of our episodes, man. How this is the lowest attendance since 2011.
Yeah, it was a very hot topic throughout the entire season, right? Especially shortly after Leagues Cup.
Yep.
After Leagues Cup, the attendance just dropped significantly, right? And if you look at the average assistance for Liga MX, you might think that it's not too bad, but keep in mind that two teams that contribute the most to that average is Monterrey and Tigres,
right?
Where you have up to 40,000 season ticket holders, right? Abonados. And so it's just like we always said, Monterrey, it's its own thing, pretty much. But if you look at, we like to watch Verdes Botanera, right?
Yep.
And you saw freaking Puebla matches, Mazatlan,
Tijuana.
Atlas, Tijuana,
Bravos. Yeah.
Bravos. If it wasn't a game against Cruz Azul, America, Chivas, or one of the Regio teams, the stands were empty, dude. I think Santos, one match had like 500 people in it. And Santos, El Territorio Santos Modelo, I don't know if that's still the name, but that stadium is one of the most
nice one,
it's a nice stadium. It's actually
to 30,000.
Exactly. It's not too bad. I mean, it's one of the newest ones here in Liga MX, and just the fact that you had 500 people showed up, dude.
It's a Leagues Cup attendance. That's like when you went to the game in Austin.
Exactly. So it's a touchy subject because Liga MX has to do something to increase the popularity of the game, because you're not only competing against other leagues in the world now, you're competing against Kings League, you're competing against other sports, and on top of that, not only on the sports, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, like any other content that is out there, you're competing against it. Yeah. And so it's just, I don't know, kids nowadays, they cannot stand 90 minutes. Right?
Well, man, we haven't mentioned this team for all the Chiva hermanos out there. What can we say? I mean, they're on their, third coach now?
Yeah.
With Oscar Garcia.
Garcia. Mm-hmm.
But Fernando Gago left mid-season, leaving Chivas in turmoil. And even before that, Fernando Hierro, right? I mean, he left too. How is it looking for next season for Chivas? Is there any esperanza, any hope for them?
Es todo para mis Chivas hermanos. Qué difícil es ser aficionado a las Chivas hoy en día. Yo los entiendo. And I get that, dude, because Tigres before 2011 was like that.
We suffered for.
So
20
I
years.
get it, but I don't think there's an easy answer for Chivas. I don't think Chivas is going to be a contender for the title next season, nor in the next 5 years, right? I mean, it's a very weak team. The fact that they have the handicap of only Mexican players makes it even more difficult, right? You don't see them working on their academies to make better talent, right? And so that's why you have forwards like La Hormiga Gonzalez or Ricardo Marin, right?
Yep.
Or Chicharito, who, listen, man, come on.
Spend more time streaming.
Yeah, Javier, retírate. Just come on, man. It's time. Yeah. I mean, honestly, well, it's I don't think they're gonna be a contender for the next season. There will be. I think they will consider to be a successful season if they reach La Liga. Yeah.
Man, someone who I think we talked about in our previous video with the resumen of the final. We talked about. You gave him a rating of, if I'm remembering correctly, of a B. De Michelis, Monterrey. Yes. Replaced Fernando Ortiz, came in mid-season, took them to the final. Does this give Monterrey fans hope?
I think, so here's what I think. I think Fernando Ortiz deserved better. When he left the team, they were the first in ligamx, right?
It was a brutal sacking.
Exactly, it was a brutal sacking. They were number 1 in the league. The previous season, they reached the semifinals. So, I mean, if we would have given him more time, and maybe the players that De Michelis has right now, he could have reached the same, performance level, right? I don't think De Michelis is a huge difference between Fernando Ortiz. These are two significantly unexperienced coaches, right? If you think about it, right? Both of them came from the academy, one from America, one from Bayern Munich. The biggest, I guess, the difference between them is that De Michelis won a championship with River Plate, right? But he was playing garbage when he left River Plate. So, Monterrey fans should be hopeful that regardless of their coach, they have
a fantastic team.
They have a very strong squad and they have a leader that can take them to the next level. They just need two specific hirings. One, a strong center back, because Hector Moreno is he's getting older, right?
Both their center backs are pretty old. No,
Victor Guzman is actually young. Victor Guzman is he's like 22 or something, but he's been significantly inconsistent for Monterrey. So they need a strong presence as a center back, and they need as I said on our last weekly resume, right? They need a very prolific striker. They need a bomba. They need a striker that can grab a nasty ass cross and make a badass goal out of it. Yeah.
Not Superman.
Not Superman. No, man. Come on. I think we jinxed him, dude.
What you call him? Supermandado.
Yeah. I think we jinxed him, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, poor guy, going through stuff down there, but didn't have a good final. Adrian, we talked about León, how they were sneaking into the play-in, right? They were close. Berizzo, got them close, as close as he can.
Yeah.
You talked about Monterrey fans being hopeful for their future because of, despite their coach, they have a fantastic team. León, despite their team, they have a pretty, good coach, right?
Yeah, I think Berizzo is a decent coach for ligamx, definitely. Berizzo was one of the options that Monterrey also looked into it. But they decided to go with De Michelis because De Michelis seems to be more of an structured, organized coach, and Berizzo is more like an old school kind of guy, in a way, right? But I think León has something to hope for next season. Maybe not a contender in ligamx, but definitely to have a strong squad because they also are in on the 2025 Club World Cup, right?
Yeah.
And so I hope that they're looking into bolstering the squad for that specific tournament.
Yeah, and they're going to need to spend some money to make a good showing there.
Exactly.
Can't leave it all to Pachuca, man.
I know, right? All the teenagers playing for Mexico.
Yeah, another tournament that was really criticized, Leagues Cup, right? Sparked a lot of debates about how close Liga MX is to MLS now, how there has to be a pause for La Apertura, right? But recently, I think one of the higher ups, I forget who it was, came out and said that they were not going to stop for Leagues Cup anymore.
Apparently, allegedly, that's what they're going to do this coming season next year, I guess, next summer, where they're not going to stop for Leagues Cup anymore. It's going to be like just a roll-on tournament.
Right.
Yeah. So and I think it's still going to get played only in the United States, but it's a roll-on tournament. It doesn't stop any of the leagues. It just means that the Mexican teams have to travel to the States for these matches, right? Yeah. I don't know, man. I think Leagues Cup in general is a very interesting product.
Yeah.
Right? Because I like to see MLS teams against.
Gives us good matches.
Yeah. Sometimes. Exactly. I think it's interesting. I think it hasn't been well managed, in my opinion.
Just a money cup, right?
It's a money cup for some of these teams, but for example, I don't think for the top 5 teams in Liga MX it's profitable whatsoever. Like I was going. I mean, I remember Tato Noriega saying in one press conference that whatever money they made out of playing in Leagues Cup, it was just enough to break even, logistically speaking. Yeah, logistically speaking. So for Mazatlan, Puebla, Bravos, yeah, it's some good money, right? But for América, Tigres, Monterrey, Toluca, Cruz Azul, it doesn't really make. It doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And when you win it, what do you get? I mean, you go to the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yep, another Mickey Mouse Cup.
Exactly. All right, man. Whatever.
Man, we saw recently some of the changes they were implementing was the Regla 2011, right? To try to get more youth playing in the league. Liga MX clubs fielded an average of just 1.2 U23 Mexican players per match in Apertura 2024. Yep. So even with this new rule, I mean, it doesn't look like it's working.
No, because take in consideration Tigres. They waited until the last match
to try to get that.
To complete the freaking minutes, right?
Yeah.
There was only, I think, 3 teams who made it before the half of the season, which was Pachuca, Santos, and Chivas. And you all know that all those 3 teams played with nothing but youngsters, or most of their squad is.
They're carrying that average up.
Exactly, exactly. And so I understand the reason behind the rule, but I don't think it's meant for what they're telling people it is for.
Yeah,
I think it's meant for some people in Liga MX to make more money. Pachuca, Santos, yeah. So that's what I think. Yeah. This is not. They keep on saying like, hey, well, this is how we found Andres Guardado and all those other young star players, Javier Chicharito Hernandez, whatever. They were discovered because they were good.
Yeah.
Not because of a rule, and that's it. If you want a change in this, force teams to develop young players for the national team, not for their squads.
Man, that's another 2-hour video.
I know, dude. I'm gonna be ranting out here. So, yeah, let's move on.
Let's switch back to the USMNT. Towards the end of the season, we saw Gio Reyna have a lot of injuries, have some lack of playing time. We saw when Pulisic was going through that Chelsea, problem, right? Not playing a lot. This guy, this legend, USMNT legend, Donovan came out and said that these players should, drop everything in Europe, just come to the MLS, come to the MLS, right? And his specific quote here for the Giovanni case was, now I know injuries were a factor with Gio. I just get so sick of this BS people crap on MLS all the time, and I get it. Guess what? Gio Reyna MLS would have played 300 games by now. Remember, Gio Reyna's 22. Yeah. Hopefully would have been fit, and he's 20. Well, he got it wrong. He's 22, I believe, right? Maybe then he would have gone somewhere in Europe and gone and played. So he's thinking, come to MLS, play, and then go back to Europe. It's just frustrating because a guy with this talent should be further ahead of his development. A lot of people in the camp say he's the most talented guy. My problem with this is that you don't go from BBB to MLS. There's a whole world in between, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you can go from Borussia Dortmund to Genoa or something,
or some Eredivisie, right?
Eredivisie, PSV or something, and be successful and be playing at a level that's way above MLS. And I think this could also apply to Mexican players. If you're not playing successfully, or being part of being incorporated or playing a lot out there, you don't have to necessarily come crawling back to Liga MX, right? Or MLS like we see at Chucky and whatnot. But there's levels to it. You can drop a level, go play for even a league. You don't have to play Bundesliga 1, play Bundesliga 2, play in the championship, right? Yeah. We see a lot of successful USMNT players there. I mean, what are your thoughts on this quote?
This guy's out of his mind, dude. He just wants attention, bro. I mean, come on, man.
Trying to stay relevant.
Pretty much. I mean, he's just frustrated that he wasn't necessarily that good of a player to play in Europe.
Yep.
Plain simple, right? I don't see how Gio Reyna would get better coming back and playing for Cincinnati or freaking the New York City FC or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think there's even a bigger risk for him coming back and not getting out of MLS.
Yep.
Right? And
I'm stuck.
If he's smart enough, he will understand that the trend here in the USMNT is less MLS players, more European-based players, right?
Especially with this new coach.
Exactly. So why would you, if he's the most talented guy, then shut up and play better, man. Yeah. Right? I mean, I understand that maybe there's 2 or 3 players ahead of him in BBV, then find an outlet for yourself, right? don't listen to Landon Donovan. I get he's a freaking legend for the USMNT and the whole football sphere here in the States.
Hey, he's the leader of assists around the world. Well, tied with Messi.
Tied with Messi. I know. And listen, I certainly think Landon Donovan was a great soccer player, right? But he's just trying to pull a freaking Alexis Lalas in here, man. And you know how I feel about Alexis Lalas.
Try to say the most controversial thing.
Yeah,
clicks.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if freaking Don Garver is just like, hey, buddies with Donovan, right?
Well, he is part of the San Diego ownership group.
Here we go. So why would you buy the hand that fits you, man?
Yeah.
Come on, Donovan. Be better, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Taking it back to Mexico now. Juan Carlos La Bomba Rodriguez.
This
Drop the bomba.
Yeah.
Right. He was there a year
and a half, dude.
Right.
Yeah, year and a
half. He was the big guy that was supposed to come in here. For those of you who don't know, the big directivo, the big leadership guy that was supposed to come in, clean slate, clear, implement new changes to la selección, to the federation, and ultimately, man, it wasn't to the to the liking of the clubs, right?
I mean, listen, he looked us in the eyes, you and myself. He looked us in the eyes and he told us that he was going to fix everything, right? He didn't. But the biggest reason why he's leaving, it's because, as you know, and as we have discussed, right? And for those who don't know, the biggest project that La Bomba Rodriguez was trying to bring to fruition was this private investment fund from the U.S., right? I think it's Apollo Group or Apollo Global Management. Yeah. He was trying to secure $1.25 billion for ligamx that was supposed to get distributed evenly throughout every single ligamx team in the exchange of 10% of their annual revenue for the next, I think, 20 years or so. Something along those lines. Like it was like a long period of time, right?
Yeah. Kind of like the Apple deal with MLS, right?
Exactly.
10 years, 2.5 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, the biggest caveat here is that money wasn't meant to be used for the squad. It was meant to be used for infrastructure, right? Yeah. Making better stadiums, improving the fan experience, improving your
youth development,
right? So that was the intention I think every single team would have gotten like around $40 to $50 million for that specific use, right? And then what happened was we all know that the ownership group in Liga MX isn't necessarily the most cohesive team, right? Like they don't really play with each other really well. And so there was like a half of the league who was like, hey, we want that money. And that's the name. So Mazatlán, Bravos.
Smaller clubs.
Yeah, smaller clubs, right? Yeah. But the big owners, maybe not big teams, but the big owners, so Grupo Caliente, Grupo Pachuca, Santos, or I guess Grupo Orlegui, and then of course Tigres, Monterrey, all of them were like, hey, wait a minute. I am not a, team that is on red numbers. Yeah. I actually make money, right? Yeah. I am one of the teams that actually provides money to the league. Why would I leave, or what would I give away my profits, 10% of my profits, for $40 million that isn't necessarily 10% of my profits on a regular basis, right? And so it was just a complete disaster. And La Bomba Rodriguez, when he realized that he was not going to be able to make it happen, he just quit.
Stepped down.
He just stepped down, dude. And so, I mean, he didn't make any changes, right? Like he was supposed to be this high commissioner for the Mexican Football Association, and he was just another puppet for Televisa. And I mean, we know this. And Televisa was the one who was pushing for this thing because they need money. Yeah. And then he was also pushing for this because he was gonna keep like 2% of the transaction or something like that. So
I mean, middleman.
Exactly. I mean, if I was Ramon Rodriguez, I would have been pushing for this as well. But now he's gone. Mikel Arriola is now the interim high commissioner, and it looks like they're going to try to salvage some of that deal.
Find investors in January.
Yeah, something like that. Like they're going to bring like another proposition for the league. Like I think it was mismanaged. I think everyone was on board of unifying the rights of the TV rights, right? Yeah. And making more money. But they should have done like, hey man, so those who provide more to the league should get more. Right. Like any other TV deals or TV rights on any other league, right? Yeah. The Premier League, that's what they do. The La Liga, that's what they do.
Proportionate to...
Exactly, proportionate, exactly. So, I don't know, man. I mean, why make it easy?
Yeah, it's never easy with La Federación, bro. And, if you're La Federación, you're looking for a new commissioner to come in. Are you looking for somebody that, again, is going to try to, reinvent the wheel, try to change things? Or are you just trying to find another, yes man here?
I think that is the, $1 million question, right? What do we want? And
somebody that we control, right? Or somebody that's going to try to move things around, but it's just going to be voted out.
The thing is that no matter who you bring, man, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're gonna this guy, whether he's a a hard ass or just a pushover, this person's gonna ultimately do whatever El Patrón Azcárraga wants to do, right?
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
So.
Well, man, both the teams we cover here, USMNT and La Selección Mexicana, got new coaches this year.
Yeah.
One a little bit more exciting than the other, I would say.
Yeah, no, significantly, no,
yeah.
not little, like a lot.
But let's start with Javier Vascoaguirre here, man. El Vasco returned as a coach for Mexico, kind of steering the ship to the 2026 World Cup, right? Third tenure with La Selección.
Yeah.
I think we've seen what he's capable of. We've seen, his style. We've seen what he can do. One of our videos that we made earlier that got a lot of traction was Vasco likes him young as a title, remember? Because he likes to play youth players, as we've seen.
Exactly. That was funny.
He doesn't discriminate against youth players, I guess. If you're an eltri fan here, man, are you excited about this? I mean, I don't think you're too excited. You're probably more excited that the prospect of Rafamarquez learning under Vascoaguirre, right, and taking the reins for the 2030 World Cup. But I think at this point in time, you can't expect huge changes to come from here until 2026. What they can expect and hope to expect is maybe get to I guess it's the 6th game now, right? It's not the 5th. I think he can do it, but from there it's going to be pushing it, man. But Vascoaguirre, what are your thoughts? I mean, we've done plenty of videos on him.
I know.
Just a summary of end of the year summary. How's it been for him? What would you rate him?
I mean, I will rate him as a C, dude.
Yeah.
Like barely passing. I mean, this is as if you were in a toxic relationship, right? It hasn't worked in the past.
Yeah.
You try it again, it didn't work, and then it happens again, and you think, this time I'm gonna change him, right? I have it in me to change it. No, it's just not gonna happen, man. We've seen everything that we had to see about El Vascoaguirre. Nothing is gonna change. It's gonna be the same thing every single match that we see with him at the spot, at the helm. I don't know what's going to happen now that Bomba Rodriguez is gone because they were compadres.
Yeah.
But yeah, he barely passed, in my opinion. Grade C. No outstanding matches besides that game in Guadalajara against the USMNT.
The big memory for Vasco was getting hit in the head.
Exactly. That was the most exciting thing.
You in agreement, though, that Jaime Lozano, it was time for him to go?
I think so. I think it was unsustainable. I mean, I would have been okay if they would have let him in the position, but he was not going to have a happy ending with Mexico in any way. Yeah.
Let's talk about the more exciting coach hire here. The USMNT, I think, got a top 5, top 10 coach for the first time in their history.
Yeah.
Mauricio Pochettino, the Argentine, who we've seen coach PSG, we've seen coach Tottenham, Chelsea, right? Who's had not many games with the USMNT so far. I think he's only played 4, Panama, Mexico, and the 2 games against Jamaica, right? But I think the first window wasn't all that great. They beat Jamaica, but then lost in Mexico 2-0. But he was able to turn it around, did something that Triple G didn't do too often, win away in CONCACAF, and then had a dominant 4-2 performance against Jamaica at home, where the score there of 4-2 really didn't reflect the domination that USMNT had. It was kind of just those and dead goals, right, where you just kind of turn off a little bit there. But even then, we saw him kind of get angry that why are you letting these goals in, right? Someone who I think the USMNT fans can be excited about, definitely. But I think for me, he gets a B just because you lose to your rival.
Solid B.
Right. Maybe you should have done better in that match, but you get a good couple matches in the Nations League.
And for Pochettino, I mean, just to be completely honest here, is that this whatever how many months he's been at the helm, I think he did a very, very decent job in coming in, not steering the pot, right? Not making a huge deal, not making like, hey, I'm here now, I'm going to change everything.
Yeah.
I think it was a wise choice for him to show up and be like, all right, I see the status quo. Let me keep on doing the thing that we all know how to do.
Changing slowly.
Slowly, right? And then now that I have a baseline, that I know how things are going, now let me make a change. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what I hope it happens next year. I think a solid B, it's a good grade for Pochettino. And yes, he is leaps and bounds, way more, enticing and impressive and freaking just a bigger package than Vascoaguirre. Come on, man. I mean, he's a contemporary coach. Vascoaguirre is a freaking coach from like the 80s. I mean, not even like freaking. I don't know. He peaked in 2000s, dude. Yeah. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, we've seen what he could do, and like I said, we're not expecting miracles from El Vascoaguirre. But yeah, man, Adrian, man, it was a good 2024. I think thank you guys for sticking with us in 2024. We're excited for 2025, man. As we wrap up this episode, why don't you tell our listeners, man, what we have in store for 2025 and where they can catch us?
Yeah, man. So we've been discussing. We were thinking about this. We're gonna do a couple of changes. We're gonna bring a little different format, different video formats. We wanna explore different things. Also gonna try to go to more matches and do some content outside
fans,
with the fans, with the stadiums, and hopefully we get to that 1,000 subscriber goals that we've been following for this year. So help us out. And to do so, you can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram, TikTok. We post memes, latest news, and shorts of our episodes.
Yeah, and before we go, let us know in the comments below, what were your highlights for this year, 2024, for the USMNT or for Mexico? Again, thank you guys for sticking with us here in 2024, all 2023 as well. We're excited for 2025. Got a lot more to come. Shout out Claudio again, the man behind the camera, for helping us out with this episode. Hopefully we're able to do a couple more with him like this in the future, because we really like the style. I think it's a nice change,
Yeah,
right?
it's a nice change, man. I like it.
But let us know your thoughts on this video, this style of, if you're a fan of this type of podcast situation here. But until 2025, we'll see you guys next time.
And also, go easy on us for our setup right now. I know Claudio came in blazing and telling us that it looked like an adult film setup, but hey, this is the first time we do it. And
we can't see it, but
okay.
All
right, nice. Okay, so
but now I guess, should I pan the camera?
no,
well,
it's
they
fine.
probably see the casting couches.
Okay, well that's nice then. That's nice. But yeah, no. Thank you for following us.
All right, guys.
Take it easy.